everyone and welcome. My name is Dora and this is my 5th update to No Pan Left Behind. So in this project I'm trying to use every single eyeshadow that I've got in my collection, and I started it at the end of last year. I'm still not done. I definitely have a larger than average eyeshadow palette collection, but also it's not that massive either. It just takes me so long because in an ideal world I would just be doing exclusive looks with the palettes that I roll into this project, but in reality I tend to just, you know, maybe use one or two here and there and then mix it in with eyeshadows in other projects, mainly pan that palette. I really want to be done with this project by the end of this year. I don't want to be doing No Pan Left Behind anymore for next year because my main focus is going to be to completely pan an entire palette again. I'm sort of trying to do that again this year. I pivoted a little bit at my mid-year update for my Pan That palette. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, I'm going to link that for you. But basically, in order to keep myself on track and accountable, I'm doing monthly updates right now, and I've also decided to roll in 2 palettes at every update, and that works out in terms of the numbers. If I complete those 2 palettes every month, the new ones, then I will be done by the end of the year. In today's update I'm going to be showing you 6 palettes here. I have got 2 palettes rolling out, 2 palettes where I've got some decent progress. I wrote them at my last update. And then I've got 2 new palettes rolling in. Let's get into the 2 palettes rolling out first of all. And the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today, exclusively, I managed to make it happen, is this Dior Quint here. And this is the 5 Couleurs in Soft Cashmere. And yeah, I had 0 uses on this palette before I sat down to do my makeup, but I've managed to complete No Pan Left Behind on here in today's look. So basically I have got this shadow here all over my lids, then the dark one in the outer corner. This one here is my topper shadow. I applied this with my fingers, and then brow bone and inner corner highlight, and then lower lash line. One look, completed this palette, easy enough, but I held back for so long. Even though I had used it, so it's newer in my collection, I got it for Christmas. I definitely used it 2 or 3 times, I want to say, at the end of last year and in January as well, so just after I received it, when the pressure isn't really on yet for Pan That palette and other projects. But yeah, it's nice to use it in the summer. It's definitely a more sort of cool toned, neutral look, but I quite like it. So yeah, I should play with this a little bit more, but in reality I probably won't because, you know, projects. I'm just gonna swatch these 2 here because I think they're really nice. Actually, I'll probably give you a swatch of the one that I've got all over my lid now because this is quite a lot more cool toned. So here's this. Yeah, you can see that leans definitely a lot more grey. I'm wearing this on top of a regular eyeshadow primer, but I know that in the past I've also used this on top of a slightly more warm, neutral, shimmery base, an eyeshadow pen, and I think I might prefer that a little bit. But also next time, instead of making this shadow here my main lid shadow, I could maybe do this one instead. I know I've done that, and you know, I'll play around with it. So, and I also, you know, don't have to use all 5 in a look if I don't want to. But I'm very happy that I've got a complete No Pan Left Behind on here now, and let's move on to the second palette that I have completed. This palette here took me so long. This is the Retro Love palette by Beauty Bay, and there are 20 shadows in here. I don't remember how many I had done at my last update, but yeah, it is now done. And I'm wearing a look with this palette, again, exclusively in my previous update. So yeah, it really surprised me. I always really liked this palette, but I had never used every single shadow in here. I got this one from Ruth, who I'm going to link down below. Ruth has been so generous in sharing her lovely makeup with me, and she gave me 3 Beauty Bay palettes. This one, the Wilderness palette, and the New Mood palette. And I think this is my favorite out of the 3 of them. Yeah. I used every single shadow in here at least once. The ones that I used more than once are Chapel of Love, the white matte, Love Train. So Chapel of Love I used 3 times, Love Train, the white sparkle, I used 4 times. Everything else in the second row once, In the third row, Good Vibrations, I used 4 times. Love Me Do, I used twice. And then as for the bottom row, at last, I hit pan in here. This was also in pan, Those Eyeshadows. So 8 uses. And Baby Love, I used twice. And yeah, that's it. My standout shadows from here, there was one that really surprised me, and that is It Takes Two. This sort of slightly like blurply midnight blue matte. It's really pigmented. Wow, look at that. But can you see how it blends out? And you can really like, okay, not so nicely on my hand here, but on my eyelids, I've been able to blend this out so well and make it a lot softer that way. And I really, really enjoyed this in the outer corner. This is a shadow that sort of, you know, I was a bit like, ooh, this is going to be a bit more tough, but actually it's really, really good. And yeah, the formula in here is amazing. Another favorite shadow was Good Vibrations. I enjoyed this one and I used it more than once. I really like this as a topper shadow. It's got beautiful, beautiful sparkles in there, and it's sort of champagne-y. So pretty. Yeah. It's not too warm either. I really like that. It's like a true neutral champagne-y, slightly peach shimmer. Beautiful. So even though this looks like a really colourful palette, I think there are a lot of neutral options in here, and I also really enjoy pinks and purples. So yeah, I really, really like this palette. I'm also going to swatch this blue here. I really enjoyed that one too. That was oh wow. I'm seeing the, look how pigmented this is. And yeah, single swipe, such a great formula. This was a beautiful topper shadow when I did a blue look. Yeah, so definitely again, combine this with other palettes and other projects, but also did that one exclusive look. And this is now rolling out. So next I'm going to show you my 2 progress palettes. I only wrote them in at my last update, but I've started to use them. I'm going to kick off over here, and this is the Carli Bybel palette by ABH. I got this one from Sofie Alexandra, who I'm also going to link down below. And there are 14 shadows in here. Here we go. Really pretty color story. And I have used 5 of them. So I'm more than 2/3 of the way there, but not quite halfway there yet. The shadows I have used are Carli Bybel, Libra, and then from the second row, Moo and Cindy. Yeah. And I want to say I did this with 2 looks. The ones that I have used already worked really well with my Pan That palette, which is now my Too Faced That's My Jam palette, or my main Pan That palette. It was always my Pan That palette right from the start. But I've been really able to combine those 2 palettes together and make some really nice summery looks. I have used other shadows in here as well, but the palette wasn't officially in No Pan Left Behind yet. But so yeah, out of the ones that I have used so far in here, I think it's safe to say that I have really enjoyed every single shadow in here. Out of the ones that I've used, I definitely enjoyed Bybel and Libra, and actually Moo as well. And let's compare that to the Beauty Bay here, because it's another sort of champagne-y neutral, but yeah, definitely warmer, more peachy, more yellowish, and then whereas the Beauty Bay is a bit more pink. And then this one is Libra, which is such a gorgeous shadow. Is that similar to, no, it's lighter than what I've got in Dior. Interesting. It's always nice to compare. And then Bybel, I think, is such a beautiful sort of taupey type of matte. Really, really pretty. I can see myself using this all over my lids, maybe with a sparkly topper, but also it works really nice in the outer corner when I'm doing softer eye looks. Yeah, I've been enjoying my time with this so far, and hopefully I'll be able to have it complete for my next update. The second palette I rolled in at my last update is this Revolution palette here, and this is from their new neutral range, and it's the blush palette. Out of the ones, I've got quite a few, or at least I used to have quite a few of their new neutral palettes. This is currently probably my favourite. I just really like this colour story. I think it's so, so pretty. There's a lot of mauve going on in there, some taupe as well. but also, you know, some warmth with that orange. And then I've got this pop of teal here. I'm less keen on the pressed glitters, and I did say, and I wish I hadn't, that I was going to use them in No Pan Left Behind as well. Since then, I have decided and promised to myself that I'm never ever going to put a pressed glitter on my eyelids anymore. So I'm now committed to using them as nail polish toppers, which makes it a little bit harder because I can't just do that every day. Obviously, I don't do my nails every day. I'm due money, so yeah, maybe I should. But out of this 18 pan palette, I have used 8 shadows. So I'm almost halfway there. Just one more and I'd be halfway. I have worn Hint, Dazed, Tone, Aglow, and Posset. I've also used Claret and Glimpse and Bloom. They were also really nice and easy to combine with my Pan That palette, and also to create some more summery looks with Posset and Bloom, for example. I wanted something a bit more peachy. And then also I've been enjoying Days because it's in Expanos pans as part of Those Eyeshadows. So I've used this one more than once, but everything else that I pointed out to you I've only used once. And I've also really been enjoying those more mauvey looks as well with this palette. The standout shadows here, I just really like these sort of mauvey colours. So this one is Claret, this one is Glimpse, and then this one was Aglow. Oh, this is so stunning. And then Hint. Sort of looks purple in the pan, but definitely more mauve. Can you see the difference there in terms of the swatch in the pan? Yeah, I mean, those are just sort of my sort of colours. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, really enjoy this palette. Who knows? Maybe I'll pan it one day. We'll see. But yeah, this is staying in here for another month at least, but also hopefully I can roll it out at my next update. So as I've said before, I am going to roll in 2 new palettes at today's update. It just so happens to work out that I'm also rolling out 2 palettes, and I thought it would make sense to bring in some of the larger palettes now, so that I've still got a little bit more time to work on those in case I can't get them complete within 1 or 2 updates. I already mentioned that I was thinking of rolling this palette in, and yes, I've decided to do so. And this is the Coultrals palette by Cosmic Beauty, and I got this one from the lovely Daria, and this is a brand new palette. So she gifted this to me for my birthday. Daria's also linked down below. And I've never used it. I started swatching this a little bit last night and I had so much fun. This is such a pretty color story, and wow, the vibrancy in the shadows, the mattes are amazing from what I can tell. The shimmers are super sparkly and iridescent, and they also seem to be multi-chromes. I can't wait to try these out on my eyelids. But yeah, here's the color story. So I've got 20 shadows here, you know, just as big as the Beauty Bay palettes. Hopefully it will take me not more than 2 months. I thought it might be fun, and this is something I did last night in preparation for this update. I wanted to give you swatches for 2 different eye looks that I'm seeing and that I'm inspired by in this palette. I hope I'll get to these exclusive looks. I think that'll be fun. If I do that, I will try and remember to take a picture and show you at my next update. These are quite simple eye looks, so just 3 shadows, a base all over lid shadow, an outer corner shadow, and then a topper shadow. So the first look I'm thinking of doing is to start off with Crave here. So this is a really pretty pinky lilac matte shadow, and I think I'll swatch it here. These are so buttery. Oh my goodness. Does it show up? Yeah, sort of. Okay. And then I'm thinking of Intuition. I'll show you the palette again in a moment. In the pan, this looks sort of like bluish, periwinkle almost, a bit deeper, a bit more grey. But it's almost a bit purple though, when you swatch it out. And then I was thinking of doing Secret, a lilac sparkle, as a topper. So Crave all over the lid, Intuition on the outer corner, and then Secret as a topper. And the sparkles I can see in Secret, they contain both of these sort of tones, and I think that's really pretty. So just to show you those in the pan, so that's this one all over the lid, outer corner, and then topper. That's what I'm thinking. And then for the second look, I wanted to go a little bit more neutral. I'm thinking of doing Eternal, so this beigey neutral as an all over lid shadow. And then this aubergine here called Natural in the outer corner. And then Slate right in the corner as a topper. Oh, these are so gorgeous. Okay, let's do that here. So here is, what's it called again? Eternal, and this is Natural, and this is Slate. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I think these will be really beautiful looks. And the second and final palette I'm rolling in today is the BH Cosmetics Colori Vivaci palette. This is kind of small, but there are 16 shadows in here. So it's a little bit more than, say, a 9 pan, which is sort of the size of this one. And here's the color story. I have got 2 pans in here, in these 2 shadows here. So this was a Pan That palette 2 years ago for the first half of the year, maybe a bit less than that. I'm excited to try this one out. I think it's a great time for it now to do this in August, because it's such a summery palette. So the 2 looks that I'm thinking of doing are shade number 16, the warm brown, first of all over the lid. They don't have names. And then in the outer corner, I want to do this blue shimmer here. It looks kind of navy in the pan, but it's almost more cobalt when you swatch it out. And then I want to do, this is my favorite shadow, this champagne shade here, shade number 1, as a topper. So this one all over the lid. And then to cool it down a little bit with the blue in the outer corner, that's what I'm thinking. And really nicely blend that together. And then top it off with this champagne-y colour here. I burnt myself here on the kettle. We use a traditional kettle, not an electronic one, and I was making iced tea and then, yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, okay, that's the first look I think I'm going to go for. For the second look, I'm thinking of using this rose satin here with a pan. So this is the only satin shadow. Everything else in here is either a shimmer or a matte. So this one all over the lid. It's hard to get my finger in there. They're so tiny. And then shade number 14, this sort of rusty orange as an outer corner shadow. Yeah, just the one underneath it. And then the periwinkle, shade number 3, up here as a topper. I think that could look really nice. So all over the lid, outer corner, and then the periwinkle on top. I think that could be really, really nice. I'm quite excited about this look actually. So as a recap, I am still working on the ABH Carli Bybel palette, also the Revolutionary Neutral Blush palette, the Cosmic Beauty Coultrals palette, and then finally BH Cosmetics Colori Vivaci. I think I've got a really nice mix here. One last thing before I go. I have already pre-filmed my makeup collection video, but I haven't done the one for my eyeshadow palettes yet. So these videos, at least the first one because it's ready, it's actually just, you know, queuing, waiting to be uploaded. It will go up in August. Fingers crossed the eyeshadow inventory one as well. But I'm wondering how to present my palettes to you in that video. So I would like to ask you, how would you like to see my eyeshadow palettes grouped in my inventory video? Since this is an eyeshadow project update, you might have an opinion about that and maybe a preference, so do let me know. I've got 4 options here. Option 1 is what I normally tend to do, and that is to group my palettes in terms of the amount of pans that I've hit in there. So say this one hit, for example, 2 pans hit, I would present this to you with all of my other palettes where I've got 2 pans hit, as an example. Starting off with palettes with no pans. Option 2 is to sort them by size. So to start off with anything that has 4 pans or 5, and then all the way up to my biggest palette, which I believe has 24 shadows in it, yeah. The third option is to do it by brand. I've never done that because I guess I don't really care about brands that much. But I know that a lot of panners do it that way, and it seems to be the sort of, perhaps the traditional way of sorting your palette. So if that's something that you prefer seeing, do let me know. And if this gets the majority of votes in terms of the comments, then I'm very happy to do that. Yeah. And the last option is to do it by date. So starting off with my oldest palette and then moving my way up to my newest addition to my collection. With that, because I've received a lot of palettes as declutters, I would show them to you in terms of the date when they came into my collection rather than when they were bought, because I don't know about that. I could do a whole release date type of thing, but I don't have that so readily available. It would be a lot easier for me to just go through my spreadsheet and see what came in when and then show it to you that way. So those are the options for that video. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got an opinion or a preference, then I'd love to know what that is. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I really hope you're going to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I also hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night, wherever you are. And I'm sending you so much love. Take care. Bye.